The corridors of the Zephyrian medical complex gleamed under bioluminescent panels, their surfaces so pristine that Jackson's reflection stared back at him as he pushed his cleaning cart down the hallway. His worn maintenance uniform stood in stark contrast to the advanced alien architecture surrounding him, but he had grown accustomed to being invisible in this world of wealth and technology. Jackson paused outside the private wing's observation deck, where he often saw the same heartbreaking scene. Through the transparent walls, Vexithara, one of the galaxy's wealthiest industrialists, sat beside his daughter Lily's medical pod. The Zephyrian's forearms hung limp with despair, his normally proud crystalline features dulled by months of helplessness. Lily had been paralyzed in a transport accident 6 months ago. Despite her father's vast fortune and access to the galaxy's most advanced medical technology, no Zephyrian physician could repair the unique neural damage that had severed her connection to her lower limbs. The girl who had once danced through their estate's floating gardens now lay motionless, her large violet eyes staring at nothing. Jackson had watched this tragedy unfold night after night during his cleaning shifts. As a single father himself, his heart ached for Vexithara's pain. Jackson's own daughter was back on Earth, staying with his sister while he worked off-world to pay for her education. He understood the fierce love of a parent and the crushing weight of being unable to help your child. What the Zephyrians didn't know was that Jackson wasn't just a janitor. Before coming to work in alien space, he had been a biomedical engineer who specialized in neural interfaces. Financial troubles following his wife's death had forced him to take any job he could find, even if it meant leaving his expertise behind. One evening, as Jackson cleaned the medical equipment in Lily's room, he noticed something that the alien doctors had missed. The Zephyrian nervous system operated on quantum frequencies that their own medical scanners couldn't fully detect due to their proximity to the patient. But human instruments, calibrated differently, might see what they couldn't. Jackson spent his off hours researching Zephyrian physiology using the medical complex's database. What he discovered made his pulse quicken. The neural pathways weren't severed, they were displaced, existing in a quantum superposition that Zephyrian technology interpreted as damaged tissue. The solution was elegantly simple, but it required a human touch. Literally. Humans possessed something unique in the galaxy: bioelectric fields that could interact with quantum neural states without collapsing them. Jackson's hands, properly calibrated with a simple device he could build from cleaning supplies and basic electronics, could potentially guide Lily's displaced neural pathways back into alignment. The challenge was convincing Vexithara to trust a human janitor with his daughter's life. Jackson waited until Vexithara was alone with Lily before approaching. The alien industrialist looked up with surprise as Jackson entered without his cleaning cart. "Sir," Jackson began, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "I believe I can help your daughter walk again." Vexithara's four eyes focused on him with a mixture of confusion and desperate hope. "You are the cleaning human. How could you possibly—" "I'm also a biomedical engineer," Jackson interrupted gently, "and I've been studying your daughter's condition. Her neural pathways aren't destroyed, they're quantum displaced. Your medical scanners can't detect the true nature of the damage because of observer effect limitations." He explained his theory, showing calculations he'd worked out on his personal tablet. Vexithara listened with growing amazement as Jackson outlined how human bioelectric fields could serve as quantum bridges to realign the neural pathways without collapsing their superposition states. "This is theoretically sound," Vexithara admitted, his crystalline features brightening with the first hope he'd felt in months. "But the risk is minimal," Jackson assured him. "The worst-case scenario is no change. But if I'm right, Lily could be walking within hours." 3 days later, after frantic consultations with the medical complex's top physicians and quantum theorists, Jackson found himself standing beside Lily's bed with a device he'd constructed from spare parts and medical components. The apparatus looked crude compared to the sophisticated alien technology surrounding them, but its simplicity was its strength. Vexithara held his daughter's hand as Jackson carefully placed his modified gloves against specific points along her spine. The device hummed quietly, calibrating his natural bioelectric field to the precise frequencies needed to interact with displaced quantum neural pathways. For 20 minutes, Jackson worked with the focus and precision that had once made him one of Earth's most promising young engineers. He could feel the quantum fluctuations through his modified gloves, guiding scattered neural pathways back into their proper configurations like a conductor reuniting a displaced orchestra. Finally, Jackson stepped back. "Try moving your toes, Lily." The room fell silent. Then, impossibly, Lily's toes began to wiggle. Vexthara's emotional cry echoed through the chamber as his daughter slowly, carefully raised her legs and sat up in bed. Within a week, Lily was walking. Within a month, she was running through her family's gardens again, her laughter carrying across the floating platforms like music. Vexthara offered Jackson any reward he could name. Instead, Jackson asked for funding to establish a medical research foundation that would study the intersection of human bioelectric fields and alien physiology. The discovery had implications far beyond one paralyzed girl. Humans might hold the key to treating quantum-based medical conditions throughout the galaxy. As Jackson prepared to return to Earth to collect his own daughter and begin his new research career, Lily approached him with a hand-drawn picture. It showed two figures holding hands, a human and a Zephyrian, with the words, "Thank you for teaching, Daddy, that sometimes the most powerful medicine comes from the heart," written in careful alien script. Jackson smiled, thinking of his own daughter and the future they would now build together. Sometimes the greatest discoveries came not from advanced technology, but from the simple human qualities of compassion, determination, and the refusal to give up on those who needed help. In a galaxy full of wonders, humanity's greatest strength had always been its heart.